Before I get to my Raw review, guys, I just want to give a brief overview of what I think about Payback that happened last night. Honestly, y'all, it was a very predictable pay per view with really great matches, but kind of not so great outcomes of the matches or final, yeah, pretty much outcomes of the matches. I didn't like the way that John Cena won. The fact that he literally had to put a box on top of Bray Wyatt to keep him in so he won't get out. Come on now. John Cena, it would have been better if John Cena went all the way out and just beat the ever loving crap out of him to where that he would not be able to stand. But my guess is that they're trying to promote it a little bit more and trying to push the whole storyline a little bit more. So that's probably the reason why they had the outcome the way it did. So I can kind of let that go. But I will say that I did not like the way that Sheamus won. Sheamus won via roll up? Come on now. This guy's supposed to be a brawler, the guy that loves to fight. Don't you think he would fight all the way through? Especially with this whole thing with Cesaro, unless the whole Cesaro thing isn't squashed. I don't know. But most of the other matches were pretty predictable. But I will say that the final match of the night, the main event with Shield versus Evolution, did not disappoint. That match really was a slaughterhouse. The fact that the Shield pretty much gave it their all and they practically dominated Evolution all the way through. And like I said, y'all, they practically buried themselves. But the overall review of this, my overall personal thoughts of Payback is this. Payback wasn't a horrible pay per view, but it had extremely predictable outcomes. But the matches themselves never really disappointed. Not disappointed me at all. But if you want to go back and watch it, it's completely up to you. If you rented it, I wouldn't rent it on pay per view. But if you have WWE Network, go back and watch it. But anyway, y'all, let's move on to my review. Well, after the predictable pay per view such as Payback, I have to say that it was somewhat surprising tonight. Let's just say that we kind of expected the fact that the Shield was going to break up because they were going to push Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was the it guy. We all knew that. But the fact that we actually thought that Seth Rollins was going to be the guy to do a turn tonight was something that, in my opinion, was a bit unexpected. Maybe people already knew, but I know I didn't. I would have expected Ambrose to do it. But let's just say that there's going to be some heat between him and Seth Rollins because he beat the ever loving crap out of him. Didn't really go for Roman Reigns, went straight to Dean Ambrose. So I wouldn't be surprised if Dean Ambrose is going to be feuding with Seth Rollins while Randy Orton is going to be feuding with Roman Reigns. And speaking of Evolution, for the opener, we actually saw the de-evolution of Evolution when Blue Tista, hashtag Blue Tista, and yeah, there is a hashtag, decided to walk out because he just didn't get what he wanted and he just decided to leave. But let's be real. Guardians of the Galaxy is going to come out in a few weeks. So I think it's going to come out either in this month or next month. So he's going to be doing promotion for that. So of course it's going to be gone. So it makes sense for him to leave. He has a few movies coming out. But besides all that, I will say that it was just interesting how everything imploded in the ring. But like I said many, many times before, Evolution practically buried themselves not once, not twice, but three times. The fact that he said that there was a plan B, I'm like, dude, really, wouldn't that be a plan C? I mean, you had a plan going on Extreme Rules. You got your butts handed to you in Extreme Rules. And then you had another plan going into Payback. And then that was a whole plan B in itself. And then you had your butts handed to you then. So I guess this would technically be plan C? Maybe? I don't know. But either or, it was kind of an interesting way to end it, and I really didn't mind it at all. But for the matches themselves going on through the night, well, they weren't all bad matches, but I will say that the highlight of the night for me was John Cena and Stephanie McMahon in the ring doing a segment together about what happened on Payback when she got slapped by Brie Bella. From everyone that knows and watched Payback, Brie Bella quit just on behalf of Daniel Bryan, so Daniel Bryan wouldn't have to give up his title. And the fact that he's injured and the fact that Brie Bella's no longer there, he didn't come out tonight. But the fact that they actually had that, they have like a lot of good chemistry in the ring, but Steph has a lot of good chemistry with everybody that's in the ring with her. And she really does know how to roll it. Not only that, and I didn't talk about this in my little brief overview, but I loved it the way she tried to get those trolls. Like seriously, those were the hecklers mostly. The hecklers that kept doing those stupid CM Punk chants, not only last night in Chicago, but well, she didn't really do anything tonight, but last night in Chicago, she just straight up and like, you're gonna quit just how CM Punk quit. Silenced them. Well, briefly. But not tonight. They're gonna still do the CM Punk chants. But honestly, it's about them being hecklers. But that's another video in itself, and I'm just going to move on from that. But it was really interesting to see them both in the ring and seeing how they had really great chemistry. And of course, John Cena is going to have something to say in a very, truth, justice, American way face kind of guy. So honestly, I mean, it was a pretty interesting segment. I enjoyed it. I really did. But the one thing I didn't enjoy was Kane. I'm really tired of Kane being a lapdog. I mean, for crying out loud, if you're supposed to be the Demon Kane, how come you haven't attacked Stephanie yet? How come it's so predictable when you come out and you don't touch her or try to make her like cringe or anything? Like, for crying out loud, you're the guy that people are supposed to be scared of. You're not supposed to be the lapdog on the leash that's put in a cage and taken out when you're needed. Come on, bring back my real Kane. By the way, Kane got mad in frustration after he lost to Cena, so that was sad to see. But besides all that, I will say that the matches themselves weren't that bad. The tag team match was pretty interesting to watch. I really did enjoy it. It was kind of the same thing after we saw last night. Most of the matches were kind of rehashed after what happened on Payback, except for the whole Asana and Alicia Fox match with Nikki Bella. More than that, it was like a punishment for what she said on Twitter. But either or, all the matches were pretty much already done before from last night's pay-per-view. So yeah, you're like, okay, you kind of want to see something different, and the only thing that came out different was at the very end. And yeah, I didn't talk much about the whole hair and mask kind of match because the match and actually on Payback took way too long, and I could care less about seeing Hornswoggle, him looking like a premature balding guy with a giant afro wig with a pick in it. Come on now. I really don't care much for that feud, but let's be real. Hornswoggle doesn't have anybody to feud with. And we're stuck with seeing him come out with 3B every single night. I really hope that they do something more and bring in a lot more people his size for him to wrestle. Because El Torito can wrestle anybody he wants because the dude is a dynamo. And he's pretty quick on his feet. He can wrestle the biggest of the biggest. But not Hornswoggle. He's not really all that great of a wrestler. But there's improvements there, so he can make improvements, so I'm not going to completely downgrade the guy. But y'all, my overall thoughts is this was kind of like a blase kind of Raw. I kind of expected it to be a little bit better than Payback last night. Payback wasn't horrible, but it's very predictable. And even though it had a very somewhat unpredictable ending, I have to say that it really wasn't anything triumphant about this Raw, let alone having the Hero Federation Medal of Honor, Russian style, whatever, that Lana gave Alexander Rusev. Really? You didn't even have Big E come out to break the whole thing up. It literally went on through, y'all. And not only that, I like Adam Rose. I really do. And it was actually somewhat refreshing to actually see Adam Rose perform. And not perform as him hopping around singing. I'm talking about Adam Rose actually fighting. The guy is pretty fluid. Don't get me, he's a very impressive guy. Even though he has pretty much one of the most fun / borderline corny gimmicks ever I wouldn't say in WWE history, but it is pretty corny gimmick. But I will say that it's very enjoyable to watch. But he's a pretty fluid fighter, and I was really happy to see him actually fight against him and against Jack Swagger. So it's kind of a refreshing thing to watch. But overall, it was just a pretty meh kind of show. It just wasn't anything that kind of grabbed your attention except for a few spots. But it wasn't that way throughout overall, but I'm not going to say it's horrible. But y'all, I really want to hear your personal thoughts on this Raw. Leave a comment in the comment section below or send me a video response on your personal opinions about Raw. What do you think about it? Whether or not you thought it was blah, or whether or not you actually thought it was pretty good to watch. And it was pretty much interesting after some of the things that we saw last night, but it just didn't really hold my attention fully. But either or, y'all, still want to hear your thoughts. Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.